course has added 2 state-of-the-art full swing simulators. Food and drink service is available from our full-service bar and grill, offering breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. Indoor and outdoor seating available. Call Shalane, our on-site coordinator, to schedule your special event.
At D.A. Davidson in Wenatchee, they believe your investment success begins with a personalized plan. A plan that is the roadmap you need to navigate your way to living your best years in retirement. D.A. Davidson can help you create a plan so you can take the time to enjoy the finer things in life. Let the financial advisors at D.A. Davidson help chart your retirement future today.
Motion e-Bikes is rolling out its new line of Avented e-bikes. Come in today and save $300 on the top-selling Avented Adventure. Motion is Central Washington's home for affordable e-bikes, located
And we are back at it, middle of the week, still the beginning of the month, 2nd day of August, 2023. I'm Dan Kuntz. It's Wednesday, and this is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. If you watched yesterday's show, you know that I started the show with a tremendous amount of optimism because I just had a feeling, an unquantifiable feeling that I was going to win the lottery. Well, I didn't win the lottery. Nobody won the lottery, as a matter of fact, so here I am again. And the next drawing for the Mega Millions will be Friday night, and the jackpot will be $79 trillion. Maybe. Probably not that much. I don't play the lottery until it gets really big. I'm not going to play the lottery every day. I give the state enough money as it is, but here I am. I didn't win the lottery. It is 64 degrees, a few high clouds in the Wenatchee Valley, and a few high clouds to the north of us up in Chelan, and quite hazy and smoky in the Omak area, Omak-Okanagan Valley, because of the Eagle Bluff fire. And it's going to be another hot one today. Forecast details are on the way. It's August. We got August weather. We're going to keep climbing up that ladder. We had 90 yesterday. We'll be a degree or two warmer than that. We will have the news, including primary election results from around our area. There was not a lot of contested races. If you're a registered voter and you got your ballot, you go, there's nothing to vote on. Well, what you could vote on, we'll let you know when we get to the news. In sports, Apple Sox got creamed last night, and the Mariners lost as well. Highlights of the Mariners anyway. We'll hear from Joel Norman up in Bellingham when we get to sports. And speaking of Joel, before they left for Bellingham, we went to Paul Thomas Senior Stadium to visit with Joel Norman and Carson Oland, who does double duty. He's both an outfielder and a catcher, and he's good at both. And we had a great visit with Carson, who's got family here in the Pacific Northwest. He's from Western Washington, but he's got family here. Great conversation with Joel and Carson in the back half of the program. And at 2 minutes after the hour on a busy Wednesday, let's get right to it. Our cameras are around the valley, and there is the Wenatchee Valley. And unlike yesterday, where we didn't have a cloud in the sky, you can see a little haze as you look up the Columbia River, just a little bit. Just a few high clouds. It got a little hazy late yesterday afternoon. It was noticeable. It wasn't bad. Never really changed the weather, the air quality very much, but you can see a little haze that worked its way down to the Wenatchee Valley, and it's going to happen again today. Again, there's a big ridge of high pressure, still centered. The middle of it is right over western Montana, and then we also have a southwest flow off the Pacific Ocean. It's actually bringing in warm air, and then it's sliding in underneath the ridge of high pressure, and that's why we get a little bit warmer each day. It's also going to be a little breezy today as well. Let's go ahead and take you up to Billy Goat and show you the air quality up there. It ain't good. Now, it doesn't look too good. Again, I just checked the website that does the air quality from the Department of Ecology, and it is not bad air quality up in Omak and Okanagan. It just looks bad. And again, we mentioned this yesterday. The air quality sensors are where people live, and people live in the valleys, not in the mountains, and so that's where they put them, because that's where the people live, and the air quality isn't bad, but it looks worse now than it did yesterday. Again, the Eagle Bluff fire is still burning. It's about 10% contained. Relative humidity is going to be bone dry everywhere. It's going to be in the teens over our viewing area. Let's check in with the Tumwater Canyon camera. Leavenworth, as you can see, the skies are considerably bluer there. We used that camera, I believe, on Monday, and there's a giant bug on the lens. Apparently, it has decided to take off. Good morning to the Bavarian village of Leavenworth. I've spent a couple of days in Leavenworth so far this summer. It's been a hoppin' place, the Bavarian village. And to McNeil Canyon we go, the very top of McNeil Canyon, and we can peek just over the ridge and take a look at Lake Chelan. Of course, McNeil Canyon, named after the pioneer family, the Canyon family, who first settled in McNeil Canyon. Good morning to Lake Chelan on this Wednesday. Hot and hazy to the north of us if you're heading up to the Omak-Okanagan area, or maybe even a little bit in the Medhal Valley because of the Eagle Bluff fire that's burning right up on the Canadian border. With us, you're going to be seeing some pretty hazy skies to the north of us. The smoke value is going to fluctuate quite a bit when the relative humidity is at its highest, and right now in Omak, it's dry. The relative humidity is 36 degrees. As the relative humidity goes down and the temperatures warm up, it has a tendency to thin it out. But at the other side, it also has a tendency to kick up fire levels. So you're going to see those smoke levels in the Okanagan Valley jump up and down quite a bit as that fire continues to burn. So heads up if you're heading to the north. It's going to be a little smokier up here than down here. From the National Weather Service, 93. Our forecast high today, we hit 90, which is pretty much what we were expecting. That's also about normal. 63 for the overnight low. By the way, we still have not hit 100 degrees yet this year. Summer of 2022, we hit 100 degrees, I think 12 times, something like that. We had 2 significant heat waves. We haven't had anything like that so far this year. We'll be getting close to triple digits, though, by Monday. Just about a degree or warmer each day because the overnight lows are going to be a little bit warmer. As you can see, the overnight low going into Thursday will be about 67, and then 68, and then 69. And that means we're going to start out warmer, and that means we're going to get warmer by the peak of the afternoon. Outside of a little wind today, the weather will be, dare I editorialize, boring. But it is August, and I suppose it could be worse. We really need the rain. We are in a drought, and we ain't got any coming. Going to take a break, and then we'll have your headlines in 2 minutes. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Hit the open roads this summer with Click It RV Superstore in Moses Lake during the Great American Sales Event. The best brands, Grand Design, Flagstaff, Thor, SMC trailers, and more. Over 1,000 RVs. Payments as low as $240 per month. $240 down. 0 payments until 2024. Up to $4,000 over JD Power for your trade-in. Plus, get a Traeger grill and Yeti cooler with purchase during the Great American Sales Event. Now at the Click It RV Superstore in Moses Lake, off I-90 on North Frontage. Hurry in today.
I chose a career at Confluence South because I wanted to help people, and I knew there would be opportunities for growth. I started as a medical assistant, but quickly advanced in my career. I received 5 promotions in only 7 years, 3 of those in management roles. Most organizations don't offer that type of growth. Now, as a career pathway coordinator, I let everyone know. Come join Confluence South. Come grow with us.
The 2023 Grant County Fair is happening August 15th through the 19th at the Grant County Fairgrounds in Moses Lake. Hundreds of animal exhibits, a huge carnival, and more than 25 food vendors. And fantastic music with Michael Ray, August 17th, with special guest the Olsen Brothers Band. August 18th, it's Ned Ledoux with special guest Jeremy McComb. And on August 19th, Grammy nominee Lupito Infante. It's Grant County's annual party. For more information, go to gcfairgrounds.com.
Walkabout Grill, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner in downtown Wenatchee and now downtown Leavenworth, where eating out is eating healthy.
Just ticked up a degree. We're now at 65 here in the big city. Lower 90s today, lower 90s on Thursday, mid 90s Friday, upper 90s into the weekend. Bountiful sunshine. It is August. After all, it's also 8 minutes after the hour. Primary elections, the November general election, we're pretty much set. We know who's been narrowed down to. We'll start out with the city of Wenatchee. Wenatchee City Council member Mike Poyer will take on former council member Brian Campbell for the Wenatchee mayorship. Of course, Mayor Frank Kuntz stepping down after 3 full terms. There are your numbers after last night's vote dump. Poyer, 45.7% of the vote. About 5,100 votes cast, by the way, in the citywide race. He has a 5-point lead over Brian Campbell. He has the second highest vote getting. The two men will advance to the general election. Candidate James McLaughlin, a Wenatchee builder developer, with just 14% of the vote, he has been eliminated. In the only three-way race for Wenatchee School Board, the incumbent Martin Barron drawing 56.5% of the vote over his nearest challenger, Tricia Cleek, who held just over 36% in the Tuesday count. This is the district-wide race, by the way. Everybody who lives in the Wenatchee School District got to vote on that yesterday. The finish, by the way, eliminates John Lacasse from consideration. He earned just 7.3%. Outside of Wenatchee, up north in Chelan, 4 candidates vying to narrow it down to 2, and the 2 will be Chelan Council member Aaron McCardle, 32% of the vote. The incumbent Mayor Bob Getty, 29% of the vote. The other 2 candidates have been eliminated from the general election. In Leavenworth, Mayor Carl Florio will face Rich Brinkman, a Wenatchee Valley College educator who formerly worked as the chief administrator for both the city of Wenatchee and the city of Leavenworth. Brinkman's 28% of the vote edges up Becky Sabuto, whose campaign against a denser residential zoning left her with 22.4%. By the way, there are only 127 ballots left uncounted. That's it. So the numbers may change a little bit, but the results, in fact, will not. Link Transit will be holding a public hearing for comments on the agency's 6-year draft transportation development plan. The proposed 2023-2028 plan. The idea is to help identify transit service needs, prioritize improvements, determine the resources required to implement modified or new services, and it provides a foundation for requests for grant funding. Copies of the draft can be found on the Link Transit website, or if you're interested, you can pick up a copy at the Columbia Station Guest Services desk or requested to be received through the mail. Written comments will be accepted through August 14th. You can submit those to the Board of Directors via email at boardclerk@linktransit.com, or you can mail it in. The hearing, by the way, will be held in conjunction with the board's regular meeting. That'll be August 15th at 3 o'clock at Columbia Station. It's also going to be on Zoom. Potential contractors to carry out the planned $134 million Confluence Parkway project, they're lining up to court the city for a chance to steer the project. A lot of folks want in on this. Last week, city engineer Jake Lewing told the city council that the 5 contractor teams have reached out about a plan to build that North Wenatchee bypass and a second bridge over the Wenatchee River. Lewing said no bids have been solicited, but the initial meetings have begun.
We are in the middle of procurement, and so it's a 2-part process. The first spot was we solicited qualifications from teams, and we got 5 qualifications submitted from either individual contractors or joint ventures, and these are really big teams, so we're really excited to get that much interest in the project. I mean, these are some of the teams that have built billion-dollar projects throughout the West Coast, including here locally, like working on the floating bridge and 405 and coming off some pretty landmark projects. So we had 5 teams. We shortlisted 4 of them, and then this week, as we're anticipating proposals from in about 5 weeks, we did our first round of interactive meetings, so it gives us a chance to sit across the table from them, see how we work with them, let them ask questions to get to know our project more, because we've been up to our neck in it, but they're kind of coming in fresh and they're trying to learn and get smart on it so they can propose. So the last 2 days we met with 4 of the teams just upstairs and had 2-hour meetings, so it was a good opportunity to get in front of them. And I think really what came out of it is we're a lot of interest in the project and we're really getting their best teams. So I think that gives us confidence that it's a project that a lot of people want to do.
Yesterday marked day 1 of the new parking restrictions in downtown Wenatchee. Back in June, the City Council adopted a 2-hour time limit for parking in the downtown core. That change requested by the Wenatchee Downtown Association, the idea to encourage turnover among shoppers and visitors. The city is encouraging motorists to use its long-term free lots down at 2nd and Palouse while they shop along Wenatchee Avenue. And finally, on this Wednesday, about 50 people turned out at Wenatchee's Pennsylvania Park last week to splash in the wading pool and enjoy free art lessons. Terry Valdez has been teaching art in the Valley for a long time now, and now he and his partners are bringing, quote, the art cart to city park locations to help kids have fun With their own creativity, we caught up with Terry to talk about the project.
We did what we called a soft opening at Washington Park, which is just like 3 doors away from my house. So we wheeled it across the street, and we didn't advertise at all. The city had it on their schedule, a city park, but we didn't want to. We want to see how things went. You know, we were laughing. Oh, it's like a carnival or a circus or whatever, or a concert. And then we're every 2 weeks. So then we did Kiwanis Medhow Park. And the Parque Padrinos helped us with that. They were some volunteers, and then my assistants. And anyway, that was 50 plus people too. So the art cart, the idea came to myself and my partner girlfriend Sandra. We were in New York City, and 2 years ago in May. And I wanted to go see the New York Public Library because it's a gorgeous architectural wonder. And here was this art cart. It was a nice day, sitting out, 4 tables, all free art materials. And she offhandedly said, you know, you ought to do this in Wenatchee. They're done all over the country, really, I found. But so I bounced the idea off the Pybus Foundation, the art committee. They said, well, go for it, you know. And then I talked to Dave Erickson at the city. The city's been phenomenal at the Parks Department. So we made up a schedule. They started, and they've done things like let us reserve all the covered areas for free. Getting it built, a student, he really deserves mention, Trace Carroll. He's a student at Pinnacles Prep, the charter school. I worked with him on the idea, and he literally sketched out this 3D idea. And then I took it to a master woodworker here in the valley, Barry Barnes. He's lived here forever. He's now retired. He donated so much time and labor engineering it. So literally, it's put together with wooden pins, a lot of it, and bolts. I can fit it in an SUV if I have to and take it apart. We've been not doing that, luckily. We've been sliding it a bit in a pickup, you know. So a lot of moving parts. It's been really magical in terms of the response from the community. The lesson is about a 5-minute lesson I introduce that can be, and Claire, my daughter, has been trained in it, Keisha, and it's just a warm-up exercise, whether it's a kindergarten age kid or an adult, and they can they just learn 6 techniques I demonstrate, and then I just tell them, I go, it's the weather's so good and it's really good quality watercolor paper. They can then let them dry in a few minutes, flip it over and do their own thing. I really hope it travels home. The parents are encouraged to do art with their kids. Many of the parents are already encouraging that, but I know firsthand, you know, I had teachers that encouraged me from the 2nd grade, and you know, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to have an art career. So that's not so important as much as encouraging the creativity.
That's pretty cool, and that wading pool looks refreshing, but I'm too old. And that's the news at 17 minutes after the hour. If you are interested in finding out what the heck is going on around the Wenatchee Valley, North Central Washington, you're cordially invited to watch the news with Grant and Eric at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. The evening news, 5, 6, and 10 on television, and available for you to watch on the World Wide Web, on our YouTube page, on our homepage, and on our Facebook page. And at the bottom of the screen is how you can get a hold of us, and you are encouraged to get a hold of us. Mariners lose, Apple Sox lose, Seahawks didn't lose, they just practiced. In pads, sports in 2 minutes. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Well, looks like our surgery patient is feeling better today.
Yep, I didn't need any oxy today. I thought I'd do a little surgery on the drain.
Huh. Do you need your pain pills anymore?
No.
Well, we should get them out of the house. There are places to drop them off.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I can do that right now.
And I will look at the drain.
Prevent opioid misuse. Find safe medication return options near you at med-project.org.
Pybus Public Market is on the move to make parking, dining, shopping, and events an even better experience for our community. Check out the progress that has already been made towards the revitalization. The West Side project is well on its way, but we need your help to get over the finish line. All donations are greatly appreciated and can be made online at our website or in person at the business office. We want to thank those who have already partnered with us. You are helping make the place we love a better place for our community to meet.
If you could live anywhere, where would it be? And what would it be like? Open up a world of possibilities when you sell your home and make those dreams real. At coldwellbanker.com, you can get an instant estimate on your home, compare cost of living city by city, and learn more about our revolutionary seller's assurance program. So it really is true. Your dreams don't have to be just dreams. At coldwellbanker.com.
When Mike leaves town, it's a little scary. You never know who might be outside. But we feel safer inside knowing our home is being monitored by a local company. I can check our alarm from just about anywhere. So when we get home, I know it's safe.
Protect your family and save money with a local company. Switch your current security monitoring to Guardian Services from LocalTel. Call Guardian Security from LocalTel now or visit localtel.net to learn more.
20 minutes after the hour, Boston put the brakes on the Mariners' two-game winning streak, 6-4. The final last night at T-Mobile Park, Eugenio Suarez, he was good. He went 2 for 4, had a home run and 3 RBIs, but wasn't good enough. Boston erased an early deficit, 3 runs in the 4th and 2 runs in the 5th inning off Seattle starter Bryce Miller.
Gino past the diving Devers. JP being waved on. Here's the throw to the plate. He's in there. Advancing to second is Gino. Julio will hold it third. Mariners have a 1-0 lead.
Shot to right field, driving back hand zone, backing up, can't get it. That'll skip and off into the stands, but the Red Sox get on the scoreboard as Arroyo takes a shot to right field.
3 or 4 days of missed opportunities and not scoring runs with guys in scoring position. Unlike them over the last month, they've been scoring a ton of runs, so this is good. Hopefully this jump starts the club.
Might it be underway? Swinging a drive to center field. Rodriguez drifting back. He's under to make the play. Duvall will tag, and he will be in to score the run. Doogie is walked and flied out. He stings this one. Deep drive right center. Rodriguez back to the wall, and that ball's out of here. Home run. Doogie spanks one out. Number 8. A 2-run shot.
Watch this swing. Top of the zone fastball. Lost some velocity. Maybe that was the sinker that he got up in the zone, and Doogie just stays behind it and does not miss.
High fly ball, deep left field. Gino has left the yard. Good, 5s only. Home run for Gino was 15th.
Middle in. He knows he's going to get at least 1 or 2 early in that bat. Look at that little side spin on that pitch. I guarantee Gino Suarez, those steps walking up to the plate, thinking to himself, all right, I'm selling out here. I'm going to sit on that changeup. He got one.
There's a drive. That one hooked out to right field deep. Back toward the seats. It's gone. Reese McGuire says hello.
Welcome back, huh?
Red Sox with his second home run of the ball game. Here's the swing by Reese McGuire. Beauty.
I mean, got on top. He was late on the heater his previous at-bats, and man, did he make an adjustment. Got the head out on this one.
Boy, Ty hits it hard. It just stays fair. Dom's going to score, digging for his second double tonight. Ty France got a 6-point ball game.
This 3-game losing streak will hand the ball to Kenley Jansen.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and the Red Sox win the ball game 6-4.
Manager Scott Service said, yeah, Bryce Miller is a rookie, and rookies are going to get hit while the rest of the league figures them out.
Well, certainly I think he's a much more effective pitcher when he's pitching at 94, 95. You know, it did dip down a little bit. He came back, you know, at the end of the game, and he's a young pitcher. You know, it's going to happen, the consistency. That's what really separates the guys at this level. We've seen him have some great outings where he can go out there and kind of just work through lineups, you know, with the good riding fastball. But the league knows him. He really needs the consistency of the secondary pitch. You see some decent sliders, you see some changeups. They're just not consistent, and that's what leads into some of the bigger innings. These guys are major league hitters. They've been at it for a while. They are going to make adjustments. And Bryce, he's done a heck of a job for us. He really has. I mean, you think about both he and Brian Wu, starting the season in Double-A. Not really knowing what's going to happen. We needed those guys to step up because of injury, and they have. They've given us a chance most times when they're out there to win the game, but they are going to stub their toe once in a while. They're going to struggle to get through 5 or 6 innings in a ball game. So, again, he'll come back. He'll get the ball here, 5 days from now, and he'll continue to give us a good effort.
Ty France is starting to heat up at the plate. He went 3 for 4 last night. Also had an RBI. 2 teams play the rubber match of the 3-game series. It's an afternoon affair. It's 1:10 on Root Sports Northwest. To the American League scoreboard we go in the division that we play in, the West. Atlanta's Spencer Strider picked up his 12th win of the season, holding the Angels to a run on 5 hits in 6 2/3 innings. 5-1 was the final there. Michael Harris, the second, homered twice for the Braves. Texas starter Andrew Heaney and 3 relievers combined on a 3-hit shutout of Chicago. Rangers beating the White Sox 2-0. Quite a day for Houston. The Astros, of course, obtained future Hall of Famer and former Astro Justin Verlander. He spent 3 months with the Mets, and now he's back in Houston. And then last night, Framber Valdez pitched a Hall of Fame-worthy no-hitter. He allowed just 1 base runner. That base runner was eliminated in a double play. He just walked 1 guy, so he only faced the minimum of 27. That's pretty impressive. And the Dodgers hit 3 home runs in a 7-3 win over the A's at Chavez Ravine. Seahawks saw a dramatic uptick in the field of training camp yesterday, the first full day with pads on. That means you get to tackle each other. And there's nobody on the roster who looks forward to hitting than members of the defense. They like to tackle people. That's their job. Bobby Wagner, of course, is back in a Seahawk uniform after, well, we know what happened to Bobby Wagner, but he says he's back.
It's been amazing, man. The fans have been amazing. The first time I came back was just something that was really special. The way that they welcomed me, obviously coming back was just as cool, and being able to connect with the community, being able to connect with everybody, because like 2 years ago, I had got hurt on the last play, so I thought my last time in the Seahawk jersey was going to be that play, and I'm blessed and happy it's not that.
Defensive coordinator Clint Hurt says it's good to have Bobby Wagner back because Bobby Wagner is a leader.
It's big because you have a calming influence. And it's not, Jordan did that last year. Obviously, Cody had experience with that last year, and they did great for what they had to do. But it's different. You're talking about a Hall of Fame player, and obviously he has a calming influence and voice. So when he says something in the huddle, everything comes down. So it's been great having him.
Seahawks will play a mock game Friday at Lumen Field. I don't know what that is. Their first preseason game, by the way, a week from tomorrow against the Vikings. Apple Sox suffered their worst loss of the season on the road in Bellingham last night. The final was 12-1. It wasn't even that close. Bellingham scored early and often. They built a 4-0 lead through 4 innings off Wenatchee starter Felix Schlade. The Apple Sox pitching staff struggled finding the strike zone all night last night. We hear more from Storman, Joel Norman.
The Wenatchee Apple Sox dropped the first game of their 6-game road trip to the Bellingham Bells by a 12-1 score on Tuesday night at Joe Martin Field. Wenatchee did not get on the board until the 9th inning when there were 2 outs recorded. A ground out scored the leadoff batter to reach the inning, Fred Buxton. Wenatchee's walks really hurt them. Their pitching staff combined to walk 11 men in the game, and they dropped the first game of the 3-game set against Bellingham. About the only good note from the game for the Sox was that the reigning West Coast League Player of the Week, Frankie Carney, picked up a base hit in the first inning to extend his hitting streak to 11 games, which is the 3rd longest by an Apple Sox player this season. Wenatchee will attempt to even the series up with the Bells up on Wednesday night when they face them at 6:35 p.m. With your Apple Sox update, I'm Joel Norman.
Thank you, Joel. Even though he can't hear me, he's probably sleeping. Bellingham has won 3 of the 4 games against the Apple Sox this year. We'll see if they can turn the tide tonight. 6:35 first pitch, and you can hear Joel's call on Sunny FM. To the West Coast League scoreboard. Last night, Victoria edging a little closer to the Apple Sox. They beat Nanaimo last night, 8-6. Michael Crossland's 2-run base hit highlighted a 4-run 5th inning for the Harbor Cats as they pulled it within a game and a half of the Apple Sox In the standings, the rest of the scores, as you see, Kelowna knocked off Kamloops, Edmonton over Port Angeles, Corvallis knocked off Portland, Cowlitz almost doubled up Yakima Valley, and Ridgefield knocked off Walla Walla. To the standings we go. With 5 games left, Wenatchee's lead in the North Division is just a game and a half over Victoria. After last night's loss, Kelowna edging closer as well. They're just 3 games out of first place, and remember, Wenatchee closes out the season Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Kelowna. And those are just some of the games that people are playing. At 29 minutes after the hour, to pick today's obscure holiday was a no-brainer. It's a summertime treat. It's the ice cream sandwich. Today is National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. Second most popular ice cream novelty behind the good old-fashioned ice cream cone number 1, but the ice cream sandwich with the chocolate wafer on either side is number 2. The modern ice cream sandwich, as we know it today, was invented by Jerry Newberg about 120 years ago in Pittsburgh. He took vanilla ice cream, put it between 2 chocolate wafers, and sold it at Pirates games at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. But the ice cream cookie sandwich, which is something else entirely, was invented in 1928. That's when a guy in San Francisco, an ice cream vendor, began to sell ice cream, put in between 2 oatmeal cookies, and then dip that in chocolate. You can't go wrong with an ice cream sandwich on a warm summer's day. A very apropos obscure holiday today. I'm getting hungry. Of course, I get up early. It's time to get hungry. It's the bottom of the hour. Today in history, July 4th, 1776 is a date you might remember. That's when they approved the Declaration of Independence, but they didn't get around to signing the Declaration of Independence until this date in 1776. So it took them about a month because they all had to get together in Philadelphia to sign the Declaration of Independence, and all of them knew if they were going to lose the Revolutionary War, this was basically they're signing their own death sentence. Of course, the most famous signature of all of them is John Hancock. Presumably, he signed first because he was the president of the Congress in 1776, so that's why his signature is right in the middle and so big. But there's no actual proof that he actually was the first one to sign it. Most historians think that they did. 2 future presidents signed the Declaration of Independence. The guy who wrote a big chunk of it, Thomas Jefferson, he put his signature on it. John Adams, the other president who signed the Declaration of Independence. The youngest signee, Edward Rutledge, who was just 26 years old, and the oldest guy to put his John Hancock, so to speak, on the Declaration of Independence, Ben Franklin, was 70 years old today. So they actually signed the Declaration of Independence, the bottom part of it, on this date in 1776, and they all went out and had a cold beer. It was probably hot in Philadelphia, I'm guessing. August 2nd, 1790, 233 years ago today. How many we got? Hands up. The first census was held. The first United States census was held on this date on August 2nd, 1790. So this is 1790. So months before, they posted in all the public squares and courthouses and anybody who they could find. On August 2nd of this year, everybody stay home. And the marshals from the various judicial districts are going to come around everybody's house and farm, and we're going to count them up. So everybody stay home on August 2nd, 1790, and we're going to count everybody up and see what we got here. The population of the United States after the first census on this date in 1790, 3,929,214. We now have, last I checked, 332 million, so we have grown a little bit. The Secretary of State at the time was Thomas Jefferson. He said that's got to be not enough. We got to have more people than that. George Washington, who was the President of the United States on August 2nd, 1790, said, yeah, I'm a skeptic too, Tom. I think we have more people. I think it was an undercount too. It's really hard to count everybody when everybody just has to stay home and somebody goes door to door with a clipboard. Can't be easy. The largest state in the Union after the first census on the state in 1790, Virginia. 747,610 residents of Virginia. 40% of them were slaves. And the biggest city then and the biggest city now, New York, had 33,131 people. They have more than that now. The first census was held in the state in 1790. This is the 100th anniversary of the mysterious death of Warren G. Harding in San Francisco. He took ill, went to bed, died. What caused his death? Nobody knows. We will never know because his widow, Florence, did not consent to an autopsy. Now, if a president dies suddenly, I can guarantee you nowadays there's going to be an autopsy, but she said no. So Vice President Calvin Coolidge got the job 100 years ago today. Calvin Coolidge was visiting his family farm up in Vermont. They had no electricity. They had no telephone. They had to send a messenger up in the woods to his house. They woke him up at about 2:45 in the morning and said, "Harding's dead, you're in." So Calvin Coolidge got up, he prayed, he dressed, he went downstairs, woke up his dad. His dad was a notary public, and he was a justice of the peace, and he administered the oath of office to Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge is the only president who was sworn into office by his dad. And then Calvin Coolidge, setting a precedent that would not follow, he went back to bed. 100 years ago today. There was only one person keeping Adolf Hitler away from an absolute dictatorship, and that was the president of Germany, Paul von Hindenburg, who actually had the power to fire Hitler if he wanted to. Hitler was the chancellor, but the president had the power to get rid of Hitler. He didn't, and on this date, August 2nd, 1934, the last person standing in the way of an absolute dictatorship, Paul von Hindenburg, died. And Adolf Hitler became the undisputed ruler of Nazi Germany. Hitler treated Hindenburg with kid gloves. He knew that Hindenburg had the power if he wanted to get rid of him, like he was going to do that. He always showed deference to Hindenburg. Hindenburg controlled the army, for one thing. Whenever they were seen in public, with Hitler second in command to Hindenburg, he was always cordial and polite. But when Paul von Hindenburg met his maker on this date, Hitler takes over. 89 years ago today. And I remember August 2nd, 1979, like it was yesterday. It was a Thursday. The Yankees had the day off. Thurman Munson took his brand new jet. He had just bought it, was just learning to fly it. They had played the White Sox in Chicago. He flew it that night from Chicago to Canton, Ohio. And on Thursday, he got up and drove out to the airport. He was just going to check on the plane. And he wasn't going to fly that day, but a buddy of his was there, and his buddy's buddy, who Thurman had never met, was there. And Thurman said, "You want to take it for a spin, do some touch and goes?" He wasn't planning on it, but on a whim, Thurman Munson and two passengers took off to do some touch and go landings at the local airport in Canton, Ohio, from the NBC Nightly News, August 2nd, 1979.
New York Yankees catcher Thurman Munson was killed today in the crash of a small airplane at the Akron-Canton Airport in Ohio. Reports were 2 other people were in the small plane with him. The plane belonged to Munson. He had bought it recently and was learning to fly. The air controller said it had been making practice takeoffs and landings when it crashed about 1,000 feet from the runway. Thurman Munson dead at the age of 32. A safety investigator says Thurman Munson of the New York Yankees probably could not get out of his crashed airplane because he struck his head inside the plane when it hit the ground. 2 others in the plane got out alive. Today, the Yankees sent out their baseball shirts to have black armbands sewed on the sleeves and went ahead with tonight's game with Baltimore. Here's Gerald Harrington.
The first game of the big series with Baltimore at Yankee Stadium was not canceled, but the Major League flags that fly over the stadium were lowered to pay respect to the Yankee captain and catcher, Thurman Munson. Even before Munson's plane missed the runway at the Akron-Canton Airport, they had expected a sellout crowd for the Baltimore series. The next 4 games could make or break the Yankees' pennant hopes for this year, but that doesn't seem so important now.
I remember that day very well. I was almost 15 years old. We were in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. I was vacationing with my friend's family, the Kellys. They invited me down to join them at their family vacation in Lake Tahoe. We had gone to the movies, Jim and Pete and I. I think it was the latest James Bond movie. And we came back on that Thursday afternoon, and Don Kelly, we get into the condo, and Don gets up, knowing I'm a huge Yankee fan. And he goes, "You should know about this before you see it on TV." And he told me. I remember that like it was yesterday. And finally, on this date, let's see, it would be 23 years ago, is that right? Iraq wants Kuwait's oil. Iraq big, Kuwait tiny. And Iraq says, we're just going to invade Kuwait. We want your real estate. The lead up to the Gulf War, here is Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It is a prescription for war, this Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, the tiny country that is a primary source of oil for much of the Western world. But tonight, The United States, the Soviet Union, Israel, and other powers are concentrating on diplomatic and economic solutions to this surprising and dangerous development. The invasion by 100,000 Iraqi troops backed by air cover and tanks was brutally efficient. Iraq wants control of Kuwait's territory, its oil, and the money that comes with it. Iraq insists that it was invited in by a rebel Kuwaiti government, but no one believes that.
That was on this date in 1990. By January of 1991, we were at war. And we do some birthdays. Pierre Charles L'Enfant. Who's that guy? Needless to say, he's French, born in the state in 1754. He got one of the great gigs of all time. Nation's capital, Washington, D.C. You have a blank slate. There isn't a building to be had. Pierre Charles L'Enfant built us a city. He was the man who designed the layout of our nation's capital. He was paid handsomely for his services, and he died broke. When he died broke, his estate was valued at $46, but he's the guy who designed Washington, D.C., where the streets go, where the buildings are going to go, and he did a pretty good job. And another heavenly birthday, Carol O'Connor. Believe it or not, Carol O'Connor auditioned for and almost got the role of the skipper on Gilligan's Island. He might have been pretty good at that, for that matter. 4 Emmy Awards portraying the legendary Archie Bunker. In fact, at the turn of the century, they did a list of the greatest and most memorable television characters of all time, and the man who Carol O'Connor portrayed, Archie Bunker, #1 television character of all time, Carol O'Connor, born in the state a long time ago and passed away quite some time ago. It is 40 minutes after the hour. An opinion from Mike Mad Dog McNally, but don't change the channel. You might learn something, or at least Mike always has opinions. Some of them are even quite thoughtful. And then my conversation with Joel Norman and a pretty good ball player by the name of Carson Oland. We're talking Apple Sox. When we come back, you're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Come see how very different you will feel in your Bullfrog Spa.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and everybody's entitled to my opinion. Now, some years ago, I was listening to the radio, and an ad came on advising me to buy silver now because the Chinese and the Armenians, whoever, I don't know, they were buying up all the silver. So soon, any day now, the price of silver would skyrocket. So I checked the price of an ounce of silver that day, and I wrote it on a sticky note. I dated it, and I stuck the sticky on my wall in my office. Now, 1 year later, I checked the price of silver, and it had actually decreased a few dollars in price. Did I buy any silver? Nah. Will I be sorry someday? Maybe. But probably not. Oh, gosh. This is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and that's my opinion.
Every Wednesday, we visit with the Wenatchee Apple Sox. To my immediate left, making his very first appearance, by the way, on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. It's the voice of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman. It's nice meeting you, Joel.
Good to be out again, Dave.
It's good to see you, my friend. Introduce this fine young gentleman to your right.
Yeah, Apple Sox catcher and outfielder Carson Oland joining us, who's had a great month of July, looking to carry that over into the month of August. And we're excited to have him with us this summer, heading into his freshman year at the University of Washington. And Dan, this has been one of the most talked about prospects in the state of Washington, as well as one of the best catching prospects in the class of 2023. And he's really coming to his own at the plate lately.
You have been playing exceptionally well baseball. I did, especially once June became July. You earned the Player of the Week award on merit. You're feeling the good. Ball's looking like a beach ball coming up there. You're in a groove right now.
Yep, definitely. Seeing the ball really well right now. Just on a groove right now and sticking with it. So it's been awesome.
Do you prefer hitting against righties or lefties, or does it matter to you?
You know, being a switch hitter, it's definitely interesting because, you know, I like to hit the opposite. So whenever a left-handed pitcher's throwing, I hit right-handed. It kind of depends on which swing is feeling better. Right now, I'd say lefty, just because I definitely get more left-handed at bats. There's more right-handed pitchers. And so I'm just rolling left-handed, and I'm sticking with it and loving it. But then also switch around to the right side and loving that too.
Who said you would get more playing time and be a better all-around ball player if you become a switch hitter? Was that an early development thing?
That was kind of myself, yeah.
Really?
I started, kind of funny story, I started playing wiffle ball, started hitting left-handed because I thought it would mess up my right-handed swing. That was around the age of 9, and ended up really liking switch hitting and ended up doing it in baseball, stuck with it. You know, coaches told me not to do it. It's harder to do it in baseball than wiffle ball. It's different, but I stuck with it, and here I am now.
Splitting time between the outfield and catching. By being a catcher, normally, hey, call a good game, stop bad pitches, and if you get a couple of hits, well, that's just sugar on the ice cream. But it also probably makes you a better hitter because you have that perspective as a catcher when you're in the batter's box.
Definitely. I think catching helps a lot with eye-hand coordination and seeing different pitches, you know, with different spin. You can tell when you're catching. It translates over to hitting.
Do you call the games, or do you and your pitcher get together and do a little back and forth before you take to the field? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm pretty much calling most of the games, but I like to talk to my pitcher. I tell him I trust you if you trust me, so if you want to shake something off and throw something else, I'm trusting you there. And I also look over to the dugout, and sometimes Coach Calio will call a pitch that he wants, but it's mostly me calling the games.
Joel, you've seen this gentleman and his brother play for the Apple Sox this year, a lot more than I have. Give me your impressions of this guy.
You know, what's so impressive about Carson, I think, is that he was, you know, even when he was having some tough stretches at the plate, it wasn't affecting the rest of his game or his mood. You know, it's easy for guys, especially in the summer. There's a lot of pressure with the summer season. You're in between. Usually you're fighting for playing time, or you're fighting for some credibility heading into college. You can hit at this level, and it's tough sometimes on guys. It can eat away at them, but Carson had a rough month of June, but he was the same guy every single day. He's been the same guy ever since then. And that included stuff like, you know, just being a great catcher, being a great teammate. And, you know, one of the games that stood out for me with him wasn't even necessarily one he had at the plate. It was his effort, and they always say it's a two-man thing. When it's a pitcher and the catcher putting something together impressive. Carson caught the 8 innings that Garrett Gores tossed on the 4th of July, 11 strikeouts. And there's an immaculate inning in there as well. And, you know, it takes a great pitcher, but it takes the right catcher working with him. So he deserves a lot of credit for that day as well. And, you know, he's just been such a great teammate for this team. You know, I think it's been a great addition for the team. It's been fun having both of the Owen brothers on here. Wish we had time to have both of them with us right now as well. But, you know, Carson's having a fantastic summer. And, you know, we're really looking forward to what else he can help the team do down the stretch.
And Friday night, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Friday night's amazing victory over Edmonton. We had it here in the NCAA Live channel. Maybe the most impressive victory of the year, and this gentleman played a significant role in that.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit earlier, and I think it was one of the more meaningful wins of the year because of 2 tough losses in a row to the Bellingham Bells, and you had to find a way to win the game. It's one thing to put together a good performance and lose. It's another to put together, you know, an iffy performance, but you win. And to me, the Apple Sox, and we talked about this too, it was kind of a game of 2 halves. So the first through 8th innings, a little slow, not a lot going offensively. And it was almost just like a switch flips going into the bottom of the 9th, because the night before against Bellingham, they had almost won by trailing by 4 in the bottom of the 9th, couldn't quite get it done. The next day, only trailing by 1 heading into the 9th, tie it up, walk it off in the 13th. And to me, that bottom of the 13th was kind of a sign of this team's strength right now. They were 2 down in the inning, and a lot of teams, you probably turn in the towel and you say, all right, let's go to the 14th. Apple Sox drew 3 consecutive 2-out walks, and then Carson reaches on an infield single. They were determined to get that game done right there because they had an opportunity to do it, and they didn't waste that opportunity.
When the team came pouring out of the dugout, were you thinking, don't hurt me? Because you hear about stories, you know, the big pileups and the celebrations, and somebody steps on an ankle, and next thing you know, you're out for the year. Just don't hurt me, right?
Yeah, a little bit there, but that was an exciting moment. So it was a gritty win, and we got it done, and it was a really good win to have.
Right now, as we tape this, the Wenatchee Apple Sox, as a team, and we're talking about the entire West Coast League, not just the North Division, 2nd in OPS, 2nd in batting average, 2nd in slugging, 1st in sacrifice flies, I love that, 2nd in total bases, 1st in home runs, 1st in doubles, 2nd in hits, and most importantly, 1st in runs, which is the object of the game, is to be safe at home.
Yep.
This team is about as offensively good as almost any Apple Sox team we've ever seen.
It's right up there, I think, with a year ago, which broke a lot of records, including runs scored in a season. That's kind of been the Mitch Darlington MO. You know, we're going to find ways to score a lot of runs. when you see some of the guys' numbers, you might not think of us as the most fearsome offensive team, but even when guys are having off nights, we're going to find a way to get 5 or 6 on the board. There's a reason why this team is right up there in terms of the most runs scored, most home runs hit this season. They just do a little bit of everything, and that includes stuff like you talked about, the sacrifice flies, putting down bunts. I was surprised the other day seeing Carson put down a bunt. I'm thinking, we got the reigning West Coast League Player of the Week putting down a bunt. It was the right call because the next hitter, MJ Sweeney, gives the team the lead with an RBI single with both runners moved up. So this is an unselfish group all around. Whether they've hit a home run in the previous at-bat or struck out each of the last 9, they're ready to go if they're told to bunt. And there's no selfishness about that. It's all about how can they help the team get the next run on the board.
The team also seems mature for a bunch of 19, 20-year-old kids. They don't panic. I think they're taking some of that from Mitch Darlington's vibe, but we saw that Friday night. It was like, okay, we get one, we got extra games. You can see that maturity in the team.
The culture of this group is extremely strong. I think you look at a lot of the players who came back from last year, they established to some newcomers that this is a serious season that we've got coming up here. We want to win, and it's a combination of a great core that you bring back, the Garrett Gores, the Quincy Vasters, Evan Canfields, Brandon Ponces, and it's a combination of guys like the Owen brothers who come in and they're saying, okay, fair enough. Now I see everyone else is locked in. That's how I want to play too. So it's a really good culture this season, Dan, from top to bottom, and all credit to that goes to our coaching staff with Mitch Darlington, Mike Kelly, and Colton Kelly for upholding that and holding guys to that standard as well.
Let's give the pitchers some love. 3rd in the league in ERA, and again, this is the entire West Coast League, not just the division. 3rd in batting average, 2nd in saves, 4th in ERA, and 3rd in bases on ball. The one that jumped out is saves. We have a really good bullpen, and that's a nice problem to have if you're Mitch Darlington.
There's a lot of guys at the back of this bullpen who could come in late in the game and lock it down. I think the big arms are Evan Canfield and Jaden Williamson. You look to them to finally get maybe more than just those 3 outs, maybe the final 15 or 16, as we saw Evan do last Tuesday. But there's so many talented arms in the back of the pen, so many others we could touch on too. Guys like Joseph Rajo, I think, is kind of coming into his own after getting a feel for things when he first got back here, and a couple other guys. Trey Huff was getting some big outs, and now he's moved into the rotation, and it's a rock solid pitching staff, Dan. I think it's underappreciated because we have lost a couple of guys who've been shut down, but on any given day, this group can win. I'll give the example of Samuel Round. He had 10 strikeouts in 5 innings the other day on Wednesday, and we lost that game. How many times do you lose a game where your starter punches out 10? It's a great group of pitchers, and I give credit to coaches Mitch and Mike because that was something they focused on with the recruiting. Was we saw that the pitching was not where it was supposed to be last year. We had to improve that, and they've done that by tenfold this season. It's a great rotation, and there's nights when our bats don't have it and the pitchers carry us.
And now the bad news. I would be remiss. We need to talk about this. Our fielding percentage is 3rd from last, and we have committed 80 errors, which is 3rd to last in the league. We have had some issues with the glove.
It's been a little bit recently, though. I think it's been a small sample size where a lot of these errors have racked up because, heading into this previous 12-game homestand, the Apple Sox were 8th out of 16 teams. But it's accumulated a little bit, and Dan, as you know, this is right behind us. This is a tough infield to play. I'm sure Carson doesn't mind playing in the outfield and catching besides being on that left side because it's hard to field ground balls there. It's hard to do stuff. And, Izzy Lopez is a guy who he's going to have a few errors at the end of the summer. He might even be up there. I don't know off the top of my head. He might be up there among leaders. That's only because he plays every single day. But it's just where errors aren't exactly the best defining statistic of a defense's effort because there are so many plays Izzy Lopez makes that a lot of shortstops in this league don't. Where a guy, it looks like they're going to get an infield single deep in the hole, throws him out at first, or gets the force out at second. So I've been so impressed with him. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Sebastian David, guy who's locked down second and shortstop as well. Frankie Carney has been rock solid at second. It's just a really, really good defensive group. And we got even better, Dan, because Mason Persons came in. He was an ABCA Rawlings Gold Glove winner this past spring in Edmonds. So this is a really good team defensively, even if the errors might not say that right now.
Speaking of Mr. Carney, your teammate is collecting the hardware this week, the same hardware you collected a couple of weeks ago, our second baseman player of the week offensively, the Moss Adams player of the week. You already won that. What do you get? You get anything? You get like just a nice mention? You get
a nice mention, a nice little Instagram post. Yeah.
Well, Moss Adams is an accounting firm. Maybe you get like an hour's worth of free accounting or something.
We can talk to Rob Dyer about maybe that for next year. But
so we've had a pitcher and now two with Mr. Carney getting the player.
Well, we've had 3 position players: Easton Amundsen, Carson, and then Frankie Carney. Looking for our first pitcher to get it since 2018. I got a feeling we might be able to get one this week. But it's such a really solid team. I think there's a lot of weeks where we could have picked guys to win either pitcher or hitter of the week, and Maybe someone else in the league had to get it, but it says a lot when it's back-to-back weeks into the Apple Sox doing it. And frankly, Dan, it's because we won 10 of 12 games at home in that stretch where 12 home games in 15 days. Like, are you kidding me? You won 10 of those in that time? That just shows how dominant this team has been right now.
The most prestigious award any Apple Sox player can get is the Tommy Watanabe Award. Tommy passed away in 2015 as a member of the Apple Sox. There is no higher award one can get, and Jake Putman walked away with those honors. It's voted on both by the front office and the team. This is a tremendous honor for Jake.
Absolutely. Jake Putnam's been a classic example of a guy who maybe hasn't gotten the opportunities he should have in college, but he's made the best of it, and it hasn't affected who he is, one, as a ball player, and two, as a human being, because he spent 4 years at Santa Clara. He pitched in more games for the Apple Sox last summer than he did in those 4 years at Santa Clara, but he was the same teammate every day, still one of the first guys out of the dugout to congratulate guys, first to maybe toss with the outfielders when they need an extra person, and that's exactly the kind of guy you want on your team. And we've got plenty of guys who could have won that award, and it's a tough thing every year because you pick a guy, you usually agree on one, and then you go, gosh, what about this guy, though? We want to give him the moment in the sun. And I wish we could give out 7 or 8 Tommy Watanabe awards each year, because that's how it's been. As most years, there's not an obvious number one. It's a debate and why we have to decide on one, and a lot of guys don't get that, but it's also a team award. I think when guys see that someone gets recognized for that, they realize that, hey, the little things do matter. Being a good teammate is really important. Maybe I didn't get an award for it this time, but it does mean something more than just helping your teammates out. It's just about being a good person as well.
Bellingham Bells last night, tonight, and tomorrow, and they wrap up the regular season in Kelowna. Bellingham has been playing us pretty darn good. And even though there's a lot of roster turnover in the West Coast League this time of the year, do you have a pretty good idea what you can do to be successful against the Bells as a hitter? Do you have some scouting reports? I know this guy, he's going to try and do this to me.
Yeah, there's a few guys, especially playing them so recently. Some of those guys will probably pitch again. So seeing them has been really helpful for this next series, because we know what they have, what their tendencies are. So that definitely helps being able to play them just a few series before.
Joel, 2 more questions, we're out of here. Playoff scenarios, we punched the ticket, we're going to the playoffs, 2nd year in a row. Right now, as we speak, we have the best record in the league. Give me the playoff scenarios. What does it take for us to get home field advantage here?
So here's the way it works. If we stay right where we are entering this week prior to Tuesday night, best record in the West Coast League, best record in the North Division the second half. If that holds true, then the Apple Sox have home field advantage for however long it lasts in the rest of the way. That's if they go to the championship game, division championship, home field advantage. So that would mean the playoffs would begin August 8th on the road. Now, if the Apple Sox do not win the second half, and again, their magic number is 4 right now with 6 games to go. If they don't win the second half, then they will be hosting Game 1 of the division series on August 8th. Things can change, but it looks pretty set in stone. We're going to play Victoria one way or another. So the question becomes is who's hosting Game 1 and who has home field advantage after that. So we'd love to win the second half again. If so, this would be the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons that we've done that. And that means something. It means someone having that home field advantage. And, Dan, on Sunday, Victoria lost for just the 2nd time at home this season. They had played 23 games there, 21-2. We don't want to go there needing to win a game number 3. We want that game number 3, if necessary, to be played right here at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium.
But boy, if we could knock the Harbor Cats out of the playoffs, boy, that would feel good, doesn't it?
It's been a little bit of a rivalry. I really think since 2019, it's 2 great organizations. There's so much about Victoria that we respect, and I hope the same is true about us with them. I think that these are 2 different markets, too, but it's the beauty of this league. You've got the bigger town, the capital, and the Highland there, and then you've got Wenatchee, the Apple capital, going at it. And it's about what makes this league so great is towns like that, different sizes but different qualities to each, and then matching up and playing great baseball.
You get the last words. You see that big, tall, strapping, handsome son of a gun right there? That's your camera. Say hi to the family, my friend.
How's it going, family?
Wow.
Short and sweet.
Wow, incredible. Go get them, Apple Sox, and as soon as the playoff scenario is locked in, Joel will let us know so you can get your tickets in advance. We're going to pack this joint, and let's see if we can take home some hardware. It's good to see you, my friends.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Go Apple Sox.
Yeah, go Apple Sox. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley. We'll be right back.
At Local Myth Pizza, we believe in real food, freshly prepared with only premium ingredients. Our cheeses are imported from Italy. Our sauces, dressings, and even our sausages are made in-house fresh daily. featuring Northwest craft beers and 30 Chelan Valley wines and ciders. Family fun and amazing food. Eat local, drink local, and be local at Local Myth Pizza.
Come see why Sunset Magazine says you can't beat Local Myth Pizza.
67 degrees with quite a bit of sunshine. Just a couple of high clouds floating around out there as we get ready to wrap up this program. Quick heads up for you folks up north. When we started this program, the air quality in the Omak area was good, even though they still have that Eagle Bluff fire that's burning to the north of Omak, right on the Canadian border. I just checked them on the AQI network, the air quality program, and right now you're at 52. So Omak has now gone down to moderate. It's the air quality is degraded in Omak. We talked about this at the start of the show. This is the time of the day when the relative humidity is at its highest, and it's only 35% in Omak. So as the air thins out, the smoke lifts a little bit, but we've got two other problems. It's going to be very dry, very warm up there, and that means more fire activity with the high pressure ridge. The air quality in the Omak, Okanagan, Riverside area, and Tenasket, it's going to kind of go up and down quite a bit until they get a beat on this Eagle Bluff fire, and they got a long way to go on that. Okay, so there you go. From the National Weather Service, a quick look at your forecast. Sunshine today, a couple of degrees warmer than yesterday. We hit 90 on Tuesday. We'll be about 92 or 93 today. 63 for the overnight low, then up a notch by the time we get to Friday, a couple of notches on Saturday. I think we can safely call it hot. I think that's safe. It was going to be a little breezy today and tonight before the breeze calms down. On Thursday, it is August, and that is it for us. Have yourself a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye.